Hey guys, it is day 2 of Vlognukah where I'm uploading daily videos for the 8 days of Hanukkah, and I thought today I would just do a unscripted chat about my relationship with religion. Completely by coincidence, because I do wear this hoodie all the time. It is my Zion Canyon, Utah hoodie, which is obviously like the home to Mormons. So, good, fun times. I wish I was sitting down. Why did I choose to stand up to talk about this? I just want to be like, chill. This isn't going to really be a debate video about whether or not God exists, or this is the right way to do things, this is the wrong way to do things, and I'm right, you're wrong. I'm just going to talk about my personal experience with religion and how I kind of see the world, and I would just love to hear like your thoughts and opinions in the comments. In kind of just, I'm interested, like I'm really interested. As you would have gathered by now by the whole Hanukkah thing, I'm Jewish. Being Jewish is passed down through the mother, so my mum is Jewish but my dad is not. Being Jewish for me has always been a really significant and important part of my identity, but I have never believed in a God. I've been raised as a secular Jew, which to me means that it's part of my culture and it's part of my heritage, and for me it's about family and tradition. I went to cheder, which is like Sunday school, up until I was 12. I didn't have a bat mitzvah, but that was because I couldn't be bothered and my mum was kind of pretty chill about it. I just said I don't want to do one and she was like, cool. I learnt how to read Hebrew, even though I can't understand it. I can read some of the letters, and a lot of the songs and prayers I just kind of have memorized, even though I don't really know what they mean. I think it means even more to me because of my German Jewish identity. So I'm like a quarter German, so I'm barely German. But my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather both grew up and lived in Germany. I know that my great-grandmother came to England before the Nazis rose to power, and so she kind of just stayed in England whilst that was all happening and didn't go back home. And then because she was from East Germany, she couldn't go back home until the Berlin Wall fell down. And then my great-granddad, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was maybe during the Second World War or something, he managed to escape. And my great-grandparents met in England. And my great-grandmother is still alive. She's 102 years old on the 31st of December. She's an incredible woman. By the way, the light is going to change because there's a window right here and the sun is just setting. So a lot of my Jewish identity is also very much connected to Germany and the Holocaust and my great-grandparents. But, like I said, I don't believe in God. My dad is from a kind of Christian family, I guess. Like his dad or like grandparents and uncles, there's a lot of priests, I think, in his family. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure his family is Protestant, but I was never really raised Christian at all because I was mostly raised Jewish. But then we did like Christmas and Easter because they're just like such a part of kind of British culture as well. But I will say I was heavily influenced by my dad in terms of my atheism and just growing up being really adamant that there was no such thing as God. I very much grew up in a liberal atheist Jewish bubble. Didn't really know any religious people, never met anyone that identified as a Christian until I was 17. And I'm ashamed to say it now, but when I was a teenager, I genuinely believed that people who believed in God were stupid. People that believed in God were less intelligent than me. And I was better than them because I knew the truth, and the truth was that there's no such thing as God. And that didn't change at all until I went to university. So in my first year at uni, I lived in halls, and you're just put into a big block of flats with loads of other first year students. And a large portion of the people that I lived with in my halls were Christians. And then when we moved out into houses in second year, I lived with other Christian women. And these women are some of my best friends, and they kind of just changed the whole way I think about religion. Basically what happened was I met these women and I suddenly discovered that religious people aren't stupid, and actually they're really intelligent, and everyone has their own reasons and stories behind why they may believe in a god or a certain religious text or whatever it is. And we had loads of conversations about it. I would ask them loads of questions about their faith, and they would ask me questions about my faith in terms of Judaism, but also then my lack of in terms of the atheism. We had these really caring and loving and curious conversations about it that were non-judgmental and just really fascinating, and I learned so much. I also went to loads of Christian events at university, but a big part of that was probably the free food. You're a student, gotta get free food wherever you can. Thank you, Jesus. So what was interesting for me actually was that my dad was going through a similar transformation in terms of how he viewed religion at the same time as me, but completely separately. Like, I'd moved out, and my dad was like such a huge influence in my life in terms of how I felt about religion, in terms of the negative feelings I had towards it. And then me and him like just both separately changed at the same time. My parents had a couple people from the Democratic Republic of Congo staying with us in Manchester because of reasons that I won't go into, but my dad would drive them to church every Sunday because they were Christians and they wanted to go to church. So my dad started making friends at church, and it gradually kind of grew on him and he was starting to enjoy it, and then he would sometimes go on his own. It was then really interesting coming back home and me and my dad both having these conversations about religion that were so different to the conversations that we would be having about religion like 6 months before that. I've still never really played with the idea that God exists. Like, to me, he just doesn't exist. I don't feel his presence at all. And actually, since then, I have gone to church on Christmas morning with my dad, mostly out of like a support for him and wanting to know a bit more about his life since I've moved out and don't really get to see him on a day-to-day basis, but also because there's loads of cute babies at church, and so that's really great. So here's one of the things that I still find really tricky about religion. I'm definitely a lot less judgmental of religious people. I still have to check with myself every time it comes up, but definitely better, definitely working on it. The thing that I still find really difficult is organised religion, is the history around religion, and the things that people do in the name of God. Just historically, all of the wars that have been started over religion, all of the violence and all of the hatred and all of the anger, there's something in me that thinks that there's something fundamentally wrong with religion, and this, like all religion, if people can draw such hateful conclusions from them and start wars and be violent in the name of God. And there are wonderful religious people that don't believe in any of that stuff at all, and are lovely and are kind and are charitable and are accepting and all of those good things. I find it really hard to understand. I'm trying to understand, but I find it really hard to understand how there can be one group who are really violent and really hateful, and then a really accepting and loving and kind group who both say that they are of the same religion, and one group is saying, no, that's not Christian, you're not Christians, or you're not Muslims, they're not Muslims. To me, that's confusing. I can totally respect someone's individual faith, but then as soon as I zoom out and as soon as I start to see just religion and religious groups and the organised religion, and also just the general themes and the patterns and everything that kind of at its core has been caused by religion, all the bad things, I just can't ignore that. I find it really difficult. So how I generally identify now is, one, as Jewish, as an atheist, but also as agnostic. So an agnostic atheist. I think there's going to be loads of you who are like philosophy or theology students who are going to tell me that the meanings that I've put on these words is wrong, but this is how I understand their meaning, so bear with me. So atheism is the belief that there's no God. Being agnostic means you don't know. The reason why I say that I'm an agnostic atheist is because the agnostic bit is about knowledge and the atheist bit is about belief. So I don't know. I don't know if God exists. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. I've got no evidence for his existence, and I've got no evidence from not existing. But even though I don't know if there is a God, I don't believe that there is. Like, I feel like exhausted from just talking about it, because I'm like, whew. Okay, right, I'm going to leave it there. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I would genuinely really love to hear your thoughts in the comments on all of this. Please don't argue with each other. Please don't say mean things. Just be open and kind and have a discussion, have a debate. Happy Hanukkah, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.